He was about to lose a decision until he caught Alistair. Then we got Andre on there, which that was a good win for him at the time. But now you're deeper into your career, and the Andre shouldn't be the standout win on your record. Then you got a Jairzhino Santos who was on his way out of the UFC. He definitely needs a W. But what they're doing is they're giving him Chris Daukaus because Chris Daukaus has turned into that guy that you give people when you want them to get back on track.
Not really. I don't think so.
They gave him Derek Lewis, right? Why was he fighting Curtis Blades after that? If you just lost to Derek Lewis,
I think
why do you get Curtis Blades, who is ranked higher than that?
And he failed the test.
Let's go look at the stats real quick, man. So we got Jairzhino, who's 12-4, coming off a loss. He's 6'2", last weighed in at 259 pounds, has 78-inch reach. Then we have Chris Daukaus, who's 12-5, coming off of a loss. He's 6'3", so he has 1 inch of height advantage. Last weighed in at 250 pounds, and he has a 76-inch reach. The reach advantage is going to go to Jairzhino.
Yeah.
And if we start with Jairzhino here, coming off of two losses here, he lost to Chris Kurt. He lost. My fault. I'm getting all the black guys mixed up. He's coming off of a loss to Curtis Blades, where he was basically wrestled.
Hold on, just look at his losses.
I know all people who are champions or going to be fighting for a championship.
These are 4 losses that I would like to have on my record, man. And the only person, and he's only been knocked out in 2 of them against Volkov and Francis.
But I hate to say it, but you got to really look at these wins too. Alistair Overeem, he was about to lose a decision until he caught Alistair. Then we got Andre on there, which that was a good win for him at the time. But now you're deeper into your career, and the Andre shouldn't be the standout win on your record. Then you got a Jairzhino Santos who was on his way out of the UFC. Then you got Augusto Sakai. I don't even watch Augusto. I just know he be getting beat.
Flatline.
So I'm not even trying to be mean here, but I don't even.
Yeah, he's a gatekeeper. But anyway.
He would have to be fighting Jairzhino so this outcome could happen for me to be interested in the fight. And then he lost to Chris Curtis and Alexander Volkov. So he kind of going through it right now, man. He definitely needs a W. But what they're doing is they're giving him Chris Daukaus because Chris Daukaus has turned into that guy that you give people when you want them to get back on track.
Not really. I don't think so.
They gave him Derek Lewis, right? Why was he fighting Curtis Blades after that? If you just lost to Derek Lewis, I think why do you get Curtis Blades, who is ranked higher than that?
They did it one time though. That was only for Curtis Blades, and he failed the test.
And so now you get to fail the test. Now you fight Jairzhino, who has more knockout power in both hands. The only difference is Jairzhino don't pull the trigger. He does this thing where this waiting game, man. If you take out the Andre win, he actually had a few wins. This dude been in the UFC for that long. I didn't even know that.
Why he don't be throwing head kicks like he used to when he first came to the UFC? He'd be unstoppable, bro. Oh yeah, takedowns. He don't want to go to the ground.
Who's been dominating him on the ground? You've been getting beat up on the feet. Other than Curtis Blades, you got knocked out by Francis, and Cyril just had a glorified sparring match with you. So your only loss on the ground came from Curtis Blades, who beats everybody like that. So why are you afraid of the ground? That can't be it. The fact of the matter is, Jairzhino is in a division that does not have a lot of depth. So when he came to the UFC, being undefeated and having all these knockout wins, okay, you beat a few people and you're climbing the ranks faster in the heavyweight division versus if you was in the lightweight division or the featherweight,
Mm-hmm.
So now all of a sudden you in the heavyweight division, you beat Andre Arlovsky. Arlovsky is like, okay, cool, we're gonna give you Alistair. You get Alistair. He was losing that fight, and he literally won with 5 seconds left to go. 4 seconds left to go. Now you fight Francis in your next fight.
And honestly, I hate to say this because the fight over and Overeem, he's not in the UFC no more. But you can argue that they should not have stopped the fight. I know it was brutal because his lip was busted, but you gotta understand, if they don't stop the fight, Alistair wins the decision. So it was kind of odd the way they kind of stopped it.
Because his lip was busted regardless. So why not just 4 seconds? Now, granted, it was brutal at the time, but
it's kind of hard to bet on or pick Rozenstruik when him fighting tentatively, and the way Chris can go out there and get the job done, man.
At the end of the day, at least he'll try to pull the trigger and make something happen. Because you got to realize when he got beat by Curtis, he didn't know if the takedown was coming or the punch was coming. And you don't have to worry about the wrestling with Jairzhino. So as much as I really don't think, I just don't know what to pick with this fight.
I think both of the Daukaus brothers are going to lose within 1 week apart. That's my prediction. Because you got the thing is, Rozenstruik, look who he lost to, man. Like, he lost to the Francis. Can Chris beat any one of those guys?
No, of course not.
So it's like, there you go. So it's like, we can't really look at those losses, man, and use it against him. Because Chris can't beat Francis. He definitely can't beat Alexander. It depends on which Alexander show up.
They both lost to Curtis.
And the thing is, this is the best version of Alexander we saw in the UFC. So if he fought Alexander, the one that fought against Cyril Gane, he beats him.
But what was Jairzhino doing before that, up until that point?
Oh, yeah. But they both was going toe-to-toe, man. Just...
And I'll say one thing, though. Jairzhino was like 1 punch away from catching Francis on that little swarm he did. I shouldn't even brought that up, huh?
Yeah, it's like saying I was 1 ticket away from winning the lottery.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to have to pick Jairzhino just because I feel like the UFC throws Chris Daukaus to you. It's almost like, you ever watch a movie, man, where they be having certain dogs, like a vicious dog, and they'll bring some raw meat and kind of throw it out there. And
yeah,
I feel like they're kind of doing that to Jairzhino. It's like, all right, here you go. And then they just throwing Chris Daukaus out there. And
but they're going to, if Rozenstruik loses this fight, they're going to throw him out. They're going to throw him out the UFC.
Oh, 100%. If Jairzhino, again, he's a heavyweight, though. So you got to realize, we got people who done lost 4 or 5 and 6 in a row sticking around the UFC. What's the old boy name that lost to Costa?
Costa.
Remember Waldo Costa beat him the other day? Jared.
Oh, Chase Sherman. Oh, Jared Vendera.
Man, done lost 5, 6 in a row and still hanging around. I don't know if they're going to get rid of him because they need the heavyweights.
He might be fighting against Herb Dean next week.
Maybe. Herb Dean definitely going to be fighting Jairzhino off of Chris Daukaus because I'm saying Jairzhino by no more than second round.
I think, and this last thing I'm going to say, I think Rozenstruik is the worst out of the elite fighters in the heavyweight division. I think Chris is a tier below him.
Yeah.